of some families and some people living there. And I think it's a beautiful story that really mixes, it's a sort of mosaic of story, a sort of puzzle that slowly gives us a whole picture of the life of these people. And through simple stories, actually you could give us a not simple, a very complex picture of the emotional, moral, cultural situation of these people living together. And I would like to start from your starting point, and then I really would love to hear you talking something about your method, the method you used with the actors and the shootings, etc. And just a moment, excuse me, I have to ask if some people needs translation. Avete capito tutto o avete bisogno di traduzione? C'è qualcuno che ha bisogno di traduzione? Se sì, alzate la mano. No? Ok. Allora andiamo avanti. We can go on. Thank you.
Great, because I was prepared with buonasera, Milano.
But we accept it very, very warmly. Thank you. Buonasera.
Buonasera. Thank you so much for having me, and I really appreciate sharing the film with you. Yeah, I mean, I could talk a lot about my process also in writing, which is pretty straightforward. I'm mostly interested in things that I don't quite understand, whether they're social or political, everyday things. Specifically, this film started with this idea of how choices or moral choices, are done, and how basically the values that we inherit from the people we love the most, usually from our parents, from people we trust, our teachers, or from organizations that we trust, just like the media, the education system. These are values that we never question, because we are social creatures, and we do want to be appreciated and loved by the group that we belong to. So we convince ourselves that we're operating based on good or positive values, and we start defending those values. So I really wanted to work with this, and the first story and I work only with reality, with real things that I came across or I heard. And then someone told me the story, I mean, a version of the story that you saw with Shirley, the pregnant sister that was tricked into losing her baby. And actually, this was the starting point for me. I couldn't understand, how a member of the family, in the real story, it wasn't a sister, but it doesn't matter. Still, it was a member of the family, decided that this is the right thing, out of love and out of care. And this is how it all started. And then I realized, I realized how we live under oppression, and we tend to normalize it, and we internalize it, and it becomes part of who we are, and we don't see it. We don't understand that this is actually, an oppression, and at the same time, we just like impose it on others, usually on people that we love, believing truly that we're helping them, that we're saving them from a horrible, outcome, which in a way is true, because both Hanan and Miri, if we penetrate into their head, they do understand that society is very strict, and it regulates itself through through punishment and rewards. And they know, in both cases, that the people they love, whether it's their daughters or the sister of Miri, will be punished by society. And by wanting to quote unquote protect them, they hurt them so much. So this is how it all started for me. It doesn't start with form, it doesn't start with story. It really starts with, a disturbance that I have, an annoyance that I try to understand and develop it into the structure that we have.
Yeah, very, very strong stories. I just check. Avete capito tutti o qualcuno ha bisogno di un riassunto? C'è qualcuno che ha bisogno di traduzione? Un riassunto, ok. I just will give a short summary. Sì, è partito da storie vere, da storie che lo disturbavano. La prima storia che è arrivata è stata quella di Shirley, quindi una storia realmente accaduta che poi ha cominciato a intessere con l'altra storia e vediamo che ci sono in entrambi i casi, nella storia di Fifi e in quella di Shirley, ci sono due donne che sono di famiglia e vogliono bene a questa persona, però fanno il loro male, insomma, fanno delle scelte morali molto forti, molto disturbanti a causa dei valori ereditati, dei valori che hanno in qualche modo assorbito dalla società e che inconsciamente le portano a fare qualche cosa che danneggia queste persone perché pensano che sia il loro bene in sostanza, perché hanno paura per loro delle conseguenze. Ok, thank you very much. Just, sì, 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 come no? There is a person now that's just telling that it's very clear, the movie, that we understand it very well and that it's a masterpiece, in her opinion.
Thank you so much. Uh, and you wanted me to talk a little bit about the acting and the method I use. So
Yeah, because it's so, I know something, but I don't know if other people know, and it's so realistic and so natural that I really would like you to talk us about it.
yes, so all the people that you just saw in the film, they're not actors. They come actually from the professional background that they have in real life. So, for example, Miri is a real nurse, and Walid is a real doctor. He does endocrinology. We filmed them both in the real hospital, which is in fact the same hospital where they're working together. And everybody, the real estate agent, the lawyer, the psychiatrist, the Fifi, who was a student back then, the teacher, everybody, even a waiter, even the movers. So everybody is cast based on, their real life profession. And then what I do is just I invite people into this workshop, and through role play, I start discovering their personality. So, for example, I had uh, doctors, two groups of doctors that I worked with, having in mind that I'm looking for a doctor that is, charismatic, that you will easily fall in love with. And through role plays, improvisations that I created that have nothing to do with the film, just that will give me a sense, of their personality, I start discovering them. And once I discover, the people that I would like to work with, and they agree to work in a film. And then I start building, relationships and conflicts and histories, between people. Let's say for the Palestinian family, so I rented this villa, the villa that you see in the film, and then I got them all there together way, way before we started shooting. And we do role plays, they cook together, they celebrate birthdays, and little by little, I start introducing conflicts that I will use in the film. And I never give them a screenplay. This is why it's very naturalistic and realistic. And I film chronologically from beginning to end for every story, obviously. And they understand what's happening as they go through every scene. And it doesn't feel like a film, so there's no film lights, there's not even a boom, microphone. There are only two cameras, two people with two cameras working with zoom lenses. I talk to them and I instruct the camera people what to film on the spot. And it's real time. So I don't know, the cooking scene that you saw when they're cooking for Walid's family, before the end of the film, it was a real cooking scene that took 4 hours. And at the end of the day, I edited 1 minute, I think, out of it or something like this. So it's basically like making a documentary. Uh,
It's really impressive because the movie is beautifully shot. It's really also very good looking, I could say, like a real prepared movie, not like a simple documentation of things that happen. But I also wanted to know, from your words, you started slowly to work with these people through long workshops and a long period in which you stayed together, but and you didn't let them read the script. But at that point, the script was already written, was a full screenplay.
Yes, absolutely. You know, the screenplay was fully written way before I started even the workshops, even with dialogue. You know, I write everything because I need to fund it and I need to send it to film funds to get the money for the film. But it's never revealed. You know, even people in the crew, they don't know what the story is about. It's only, you know, the producers, me, the two camera people, and the sound person. Even the person that helped us with the costumes, which is they wear their own clothes, but someone needs to make sure, you know, that they're wearing the right stuff that we told them to wear, didn't never read the script. So, it was kept very secretive. And I work in this method that has to do with um, our, you know, innate ability to react with real emotions to fiction. It's called the suspension of disbelief or the paradox of fiction. It happens when you watch a film. You're convinced that you know that the film is not real, but when someone dies, you know cognitively that they're not dead, but you cry or you're affected. So I create this relationship instead between a person and a screen. I created between two people. So the two people or three people or whoever you see on the screen, they were not asked to be angry. They were just became angry because for a moment they suspended, you know, the belief and the situation. They knew it was fake, but they allowed themselves to believe it. And if someone cried, they cried because they believed the situation. And in a situation like this, that would have happened in reality, they would have just, you know, reacted in the same way.
Thank you, I check. Avete bisogno di un riassunto, qualcuno? Sì, allora, in sostanza sì, lui ha usato attori non professionisti, scegliendoli un dottore per fare il vero dottore, cioè un vero dottore per fare il dottore, eccetera, eccetera, scegliendoli sia per la vicinanza, diciamo, ai personaggi e poi anche per il loro carattere, la loro personalità, facendo dei lunghi workshop durante i quali vedeva magari tanti dottori e ne sceglieva uno che era più adatto al ruolo e così per tutti i personaggi. E poi ha passato tantissimo tempo con loro andando senza dargli la sceneggiatura che comunque era già scritta, ma andando poco a poco a costruire, diciamo, le situazioni, filmandole come se fosse filmare un documentario. E in qualche modo ha utilizzato quella che è la classica meccanismo di sospensione dell'incredulità che abbiamo anche noi guardando un film, per cui anche se sappiamo che una cosa non è vera, ci viene lo stesso da commuoverci. Lo stesso meccanismo l'ha sfruttato lui durante le riprese per la recitazione, quindi non ha chiesto a queste persone che non sono attori di piangere, di arrabbiarsi, quindi di simulare un'emozione, ma li ha messi in situazioni in cui loro si immedesimavano talmente tanto che potevano tirar fuori appunto quelle emozioni davvero. E quindi ha filmato per esempio la scena in cui mangiano, è una lunga scena in cui effettivamente hanno cucinato, hanno mangiato insieme, eccetera, eccetera, mettendoli ovviamente, girando in ordine cronologico e mettendoli man mano in una situazione in cui comprendevano il tipo di conflitto e ci si immedesimavano. C'è qualche... avevo visto qualche mano alzata, mi sembra. Prego.
Hi, thank you for the wonderful movie. I really love it. And you mentioned that you worked with two cameras, and then you were talking with two people. So you were in on location, or you were in remote? And if you don't mind to explain a little bit your technical, I'm a bit interested on this part of the recording of the on the shooting. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes. So before of course, I was there on location. I was with a small monitor that is divided into two, so I could see each camera, you know, camera A on the left and camera B on the right. I had a walkie-talkie, and the two camera people, Tim and Frida, they had an earpiece. they were working with zoom lenses. So I would go like, okay, Tim, give me a close up on Fifi, Frida, open up. And if she exits, don't follow her. So I was like giving them instructions as we went because they couldn't see each other all the time. And because I'm the editor, so I edit my own work always. So I was like building the scene already in my head, how to cut it. And if I knew that, okay, it's boring, I'm not going to use this, and I would just look around and I'll see like, someone that is just tired or staring. So like, okay, give me a close up on Leila now, because in my head that's a cutaway for me. That's something to edit for. Now, we don't block people, so we don't tell them you stand here, you sit here. But 3 months before the shooting, I spend a lot of time with them on location. So we rented all the locations, and the first month it was just me filming with a small camera. But then the main camera person, Tim Kuhn, he joined, and we studied how those people behave in those spaces. So, you have dinner, we have like 6, 7 dinners or whatever. So we understand that the father will sit here, the mom will sit there. She will sit actually closer to the door in order to have access to the kitchen. This is how we understood why she sits there, and sometimes you ask people, why are you sitting here? So it's like, yeah, to have access to the kitchen because, I'm serving food. And you learn how they operate in this space. And we come back with stand-ins, which is like, usually my brothers and friends. It's like, sit here, move there, and we practice, certain scenarios. If someone crosses from here, if someone goes there, how to cover it in a more interesting way. But as you saw, most of the film is very, very simple. It's like a cross, so it's an X. One camera is here and the other, I'll show you my hand like that. It's very, very simple. So yeah, I hope this answers.
Riassumo brevemente, la domanda era su come ha girato e se era presente, e la risposta è che sì, era presente con questi due operatori, queste due camere, che praticamente a cui lui poteva, con due piccoli monitor da cui controllava come venivano le riprese, e attraverso un microfonino diceva a entrambi cosa dovevano fare. Già avendo in mente il montaggio, perché poi l'ha montato lui stesso il film, e quindi guardando immaginava già come montare queste sequenze e se fare dei cambiamenti, dire a uno di spostarsi da una parte o dall'altra o zoomare, eccetera. E però per poter arrivare a fare una cosa così, che non è semplice evidentemente, ci sono state queste molte settimane di prove nelle quali avevano già affittato le location, la casa eccetera, e hanno fatto una serie di scene in cui hanno osservato le persone muoversi, dove si sedevano, cosa facevano e come potevano riprenderle, quindi sapevano già come appunto potersi muovere intorno alle persone. Thank you very much. C'è qualche altra domanda da parte vostra? Sì, arrivo un attimo. Ah, il titolo. Ok. This lady is asking for the title. Why is it called Happy Holidays?
Yes. It's the closest translation I could find to the title in Arabic, because the title in Arabic is Yin'ad Alayko, which is actually how you would congratulate someone for a birthday, for a holiday, for everything. But literally it means, may this be repeated for you. So it's the idea is like, may this birthday be repeated. May you have many more birthdays. But it's linked in Arabic into repetitions, which for us is the same noun as traditions. So, so may this tradition be repeated for you. And I also put the title of the film, after the accident of Fifi, and then we repeat the film, but now from Fifi's perspective. So in Arabic, it works nicely, it has a double meaning. In English, it's happy holidays, because, we also follow the Israeli Jewish holidays, right? We start with Purim, that's the first holiday, and then we go to Passover, and then we go to the Memorial Day, and so on. They're not so happy holidays at the end of the day, because they're structured around victimhood. If you know a little bit the history, Purim, it's not a real event that happened in history. It's a myth, but it's the Persians that tried to annihilate all the Jewish population in Persia back then. But then Queen Esther managed with her uncle to murder the king and his 10 or 12 sons, and they were saved. And then Passover, again, the Pharaonites, they wanted to hurt the Israelites, but then if you remember, God punished the Pharaonites, and then the Israelites, when they crossed the Red Sea, the Pharaonite army followed them, and then God killed them all, drowned them, and so on. And then it leads to the Holocaust Day. It's the same idea. And then in order to save themselves, they had to get rid of us. So but in English, I understand it's not, working perfectly just like in Arabic.
Sì, ha una traduzione del titolo arabo che è un modo di congratularsi che di fatto però ha anche un doppio senso perché significa alla lettera possa ciò ripetersi per sempre e questo ha anche un riferimento alla tradizione che ahimè si ripete per sempre anche appunto sulle spalle o con dolore di certe persone. Questa ambiguità era difficile renderla in inglese, però c'è il fatto che nel film ci sono alcune holidays che sono feste ebraiche e che non sono così felici, perché sono tutti riferimenti a episodi in cui gli israeliani sono stati vittime di qualcosa e a cui anche la popolazione araba israeliana partecipa, vediamo che partecipa nel corso del film. C'è qualche altra domanda o volete che vada avanti io? Se non siate timide e timidi, se avete qualunque curiosità, chiedete. Un'altra curiosità, prego.
I didn't understand why she's so interested on the military parade and that part. Sorry, I never been in Israel or in Jerusalem, so I don't understand that part. Why Fifi is teaching in the school and looks like she's. I don't know. At a certain point, I was thinking she want to jump in the other side, something like that. If you can explain, thank you.
Sure. So Fifi is a student. She's studying education in the University of Jerusalem, where we see her taking the test, if you remember. And the way it works, I think also in Italy, a student teacher, so they have to do a practicum, so like an internship.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, this is how it works all around the world. And the way it works with most universities is that you cannot choose where to do it, But because she studied in Jerusalem, it has to be in Jerusalem, and they choose the school for her, and they chose this school, which happened to be an Israeli school. So she's a Palestinian teacher that has to teach in an Israeli school because she goes to an Israeli university. And, all those militaristic indoctrination events are part of the Israeli curriculum. Every school has to do them. Okay, so those things of writing letters to soldiers or the memorial days, they're mandatory in all Israeli schools. And she has to attend. As a teacher, she has to attend the Memorial Day for the Israeli soldiers, which includes soldiers. So they bring the soldiers that graduated from this school, usually a year before or up to 3 years before, and they parade in the school just, to encourage other students, to motivate them more, although it's mandatory to go to the army. So she didn't choose it, she has to be there.
La domanda era rispetto all'interesse di Fifi per gli aspetti militari dell'educazione e della vita in Israele, ma in effetti non è un interesse e non è una scelta. Lei sta seguendo un'università israeliana per diventare insegnante e quindi deve fare un tirocinio. In questo tirocinio lo fa in una scuola israeliana dove succedono queste cose, vengono insegnati questi valori appunto militari e ci sono questi training sia sui bambini piccoli che poi sui ragazzi e poi ci sono queste parate a cui lei deve partecipare, non può scegliere di non partecipare. I think this is a really very, very interesting aspect that we also saw in another movie from Guy TV. an Israeli director. Innocence is the title of the movie, and it was a documentary mainly focused on this subject. Very, very interesting. We also had a Q&A with him, and I had already seen your movie, and I found it very interesting to see in a fiction and in a documentary this focus on this aspect that is really, I think, probably the most one of the most shocking part that we as Italian people see in your movie, at least for me.
Yes, I mean, that's the reality of things. If you open any Israeli channel and you want to see a commercial for milk or yogurt, you know, the one I can remember is cottage cheese, actually. There's a soldier that's coming back from war, and all he wants is this very specific cottage cheese, you know. And it's like it's everything in society. You know, militarism is a very big part of Israeli society. This idea of survival is something that is indoctrinated really, really strongly, not only on the holidays, but in every walk of life. You know, even, you know, every Israeli student at the 11th grade, so when they are 16 or 17, they have to go to, you know, concentration camps. But the idea is not human, you know, is not remembrance of, you know, what the horrible things that happened to Jews in the Holocaust. Is actually politicizing it. And there's a lot of films, you know, that talk about it, because whoever goes with those, you know, teenagers to a concentration camp, their guide is a soldier. And the narrative is, don't worry, this will not happen because we and you next year will protect us. And it's horrible, you know. It's I think it's disgraceful, and it's it actually politicizing, you know, the Holocaust is actually reducing it, you know, reducing the death of so many million people to a political capital. But this is, you know, this has been the case for the last, you know, 70 plus years.
Yeah, I agree. Avete capito tutti? Faccio solito breve sommario? Breve sommario, ok. Sì, la cosa della militarizzazione è pervasiva, nelle pubblicità, per esempio, può essere che un buon formaggio di campagna sia pubblicizzato da un soldato, e questa militarizzazione è così pervasiva nella scuola e nell'educazione che, per esempio, quando i ragazzi vanno a vedere campi di concentramento sono guidati da un soldato che dice loro questa cosa terribile che è accaduta in passato non ti può più accadere perché ci siamo noi e tu domani sarai un soldato, una soldatessa, e quindi c'è questo continuo politicizzare la militarizzazione e politicizzare l'olocausto, che diventa uno strumento per appunto inculcare la necessità della militarizzazione. C'era una mano alzata, arrivo. No, 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 per favore, se me lo dici anche al microfono, per favore, anche se lo dici in italiano.
Sì, se può chiarire il significato dell'ultima scena, il perché ha visualizzato in quel modo la ragazza e che sta succedendo e che significati da lui.
So he is asking about the last scene, why you decided to visualize this scene in this way, with the what meaning you decided to give to the relationship between the girl and the rest of the world around her.
So the last scene, the siren that you hear, is something that happened twice in Israel. It's imposed on the soundscape of everybody, Palestinians and Israelis alike. It happens on the Memorial Day for the Holocaust Day, and then a week later, it happens on the Memorial Day for the soldiers that died in Israeli wars. This is the siren that we filmed, actually, in reality. Okay, we filmed it there. And for me, I'm a big believer that you can't really choose what to be liberated from. You cannot say, I want to be liberated from, you know, apartheid, from Zionism, but not really from, you know, patriarchy. And for me, in this scene, Fifi understands this and makes this decision. She walks away from two things that silenced her throughout the whole film. She was silenced about her truth, of wanting to have sex with someone, and she never told Walid, until it exploded. But she was also silenced about her other truth of her identity as a Palestinian when she didn't dare to say anything in the classroom, three times, in the Passover and in the soldiers writing letters, and also in, the Memorial Day ceremony. She didn't say like, hey, stop it. I don't want to be here. And in this scene, she walks away from those two things all at once when everybody's stuck, including Walid. Walid is also stuck there, and she walks away. And we actually filmed it during the real siren. So obviously we had some extras just to add, but most of the people were just like, real people that were standing.
Thank you. Sì, in sostanza Fifi si muove per andarsene, per lasciare due forme di oppressione, che sono quella del patriarcato, quindi di una cultura patriarcale che le impedisce di vivere liberamente la sua sessualità, di poter appunto fare delle scelte che lei ritiene di voler fare, e nello stesso tempo però c'è l'altra oppressione. Le due cose sono evidentemente collegate e è molto difficile sfuggire entrambe, soprattutto forse la cultura patriarcale. L'altra cosa è la sua identità come palestinese, che è come bloccata. Lei non può dire, non ha la possibilità di reagire né in classe quando accadono appunto determinate cose, vengono insegnate determinate cose ai bambini, e nemmeno durante la parata militare. Allora in quel momento questa sirena suona due volte e tutti si devono fermare. È una sirena che suona il giorno della memoria dell'Olocausto e una settimana dopo il giorno della memoria dei soldati morti, non ho capito, delle
Yes.
vittime, dei soldati vittime in tutte le guerre, grazie. E loro hanno effettivamente fatto questa ripresa durante questa seconda occasione, e lei fa appunto questo gesto di allontanarsi da tutto questo mentre gli altri stanno fermi. There is another question, I'm coming. Sì, falla come vuoi, non c'è problema.
Volevo sapere, visto che appunto la convivenza tra israeliani e palestinesi prima del 7 ottobre, perché è stato filmato prima, era già molto complessa, com'è adesso? Cos'è successo ad Haifa? C'è questa situazione così particolare dopo il 7 ottobre? Grazie.
Volevo fare i complimenti sicuramente e chiedere se adesso, cioè dopo ottobre 23, sarebbe possibile girare un film del genere.
So they are two connected questions. If this was the daily routine with difficult relationship between Palestinian and Israel and Jewish people in Israel, in Haifa, before October the 7th, how is it now, first of all? And the second question is, would it be possible to shoot such a movie now?
Yes, thank you for the questions. I think, yeah, now the situation, I mean, if you're following up on the news, now the situation after Israel started their genocide has turned into, it's a horrible situation. The last poll that Haaretz did, which is an Israeli newspaper, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 86% of Israelis, they're in favor of ethnically cleansing Gaza, just getting rid of all the people. And 47% are in favor of killing everybody there. 47%, 47. And 56% of Israelis are in favor of getting rid of Palestinians inside Israel with Israeli citizenship, imposed citizenship like myself and others. So yes, it has. I mean, we can talk for hours about this politically, why it's happening. It has to do with demographics. Orthodox Jews and religious Jews are now making 35% of the Israeli population. their numbers are growing bigger and bigger. And, the majority of the Israeli Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament, is made out of those parties. So three full parties of religious, and then the Likud party, which is the Benjamin Netanyahu party, has 50% within them religious Zionists. So it has become unbearable. Not only since the genocide started, I think this whole shift started at around 2009. With all those super racist law. I'm not saying that we didn't have racist law. We had like 50 other racist law, but there's like 15 more racist law that were added, which are making life difficult. And then surveillance, has become, they're investing a lot of energy in surveying us. I'll just give you quick numbers. Around almost 200 Palestinian university students were kicked out of university since the genocide started for posting the last one 2 weeks ago, for posting the photo of Al-Aqsa Mosque when the Israelis, shut it down. So she just posted a photo, and she was kicked out of university, and hundreds of others that were, sacked, fired from work, and so on and so on. And it appears that there's the not it appears, they little by little they took over, first the unions, the syndicates, and now the Supreme Court. So in the past, here and there, the Supreme Court could sometimes help in minor things. Now there's no one to talk to. So it's a horrible situation to be in. And I think what's more difficult from my chats with my family and my friends, and I go a lot, I go 5 times a year because I live abroad, I live in Abu Dhabi. It's this hypocrisy that you have to develop in order to survive. Just like Fifi, you have to accept things because you need to prioritize. You need to succeed in university, so you stay silent. You need to bring food to your kids, so you stay silent. And this creates this, horrible psychological state, of guilt, self-hatred, survival sin, a lot of bad, negative psychological effects that are affecting everybody. I think this is the most difficult part. Being able to film something like this, I would think as a writer and director, I was like, okay, this is nonsense. What am I dealing with? People are being exterminated, and I'm writing, about, I would have just written something else completely, but also, yes, I think everything is scrutinized now. A lot of films are being censored. Palestinian cinemas are being shut down. Palestinian musicians for going on stage with a kufi or something are being shut down. So this is an endless, thing. There's this Palestinian director that did a documentary that happens partially in the future. It's called Lid. I don't know, maybe you watched it. He was censored. The police came to the theater where they were supposed to screen the film, shut down the theater, arrested, the person that was about to moderate the Q&A, and that was it. So there's a lot of fear. And I think it will be difficult to shoot in general right now.
È difficile ripetere tutte queste cose orribili, purtroppo. Penso che più o meno abbiate capito. Le cose in realtà sono iniziate a peggiorare molto prima del 7 ottobre, con una serie di leggi razziste in più, molte nuove leggi razziste in più rispetto a quelle che già c'erano, molte nuove difficoltà, e poi da allora la situazione è andata precipitando e peggiorando, per cui moltissimi studenti palestinesi sono stati espulsi dalle università israeliane. L'ultima poco tempo fa, una ragazza che ha semplicemente osato postare una foto di una moschea che gli israeliani avevano distrutto a Gaza, E quindi che cosa succede? Cioè, le persone devono stare zitte se vogliono semplicemente mantenere il loro posto in università o portare il cibo ai loro figli, e c'è una censura molto forte per cui molti film palestinesi cioè, non possono più essere fatti semplicemente se esistono vengono censurati. È un po' poi la stessa cosa che ci diceva anche Guy Nativi, che è un regista israeliano, che diceva che lui non potrebbe più fare in questo momento il film che ha fatto qualche anno fa, in No Sense, che parla appunto di queste questioni della militarizzazione. Also, Guy Nativi told us that he couldn't shoot the same movie that he shot some years ago. Now he couldn't do it actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh, but the last question, my curiosity, did you shoot actually the movie in Haifa?
Yes,
Yes?
yes, yes,
Okay.
absolutely. The film was shot mostly in Haifa and Fifi's, Jerusalem
Yeah.
apartment in Jerusalem. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. And you found some Hebrew actors that decided to share uh, your ideas and everything.
Yes. I chose very, very special people. So Dr. Ruti in the film, she's not a real doctor. This is one of the things that I couldn't, ethically take a real doctor, but she's a very known anti-Zionist, activist. She's now working, with families in Gaza. And I just went to her and I said, like, listen, there's a film. I won't be able to tell you what, because this is how I work, but it's on a mission to expose something, and I want you to be a racist. And I said, but I'm not a racist. Yeah, I'll work with you to become to understand how racism works. So she read a lot about racism. She read a lot about Lehava, this organization that deals with those things. She listened to their talks on YouTube, read all the documentation that they have, and she understood how it works. And actually, she replicated it in a really, really nice way, because they really do it with like fake love and care, or not fake. Maybe they're really convinced that they are superior than other races.
Sì, lui ha lavorato effettivamente a Haifa e Gerusalemme e ha lavorato con persone anche ebree che hanno sposato, insomma, la sua causa e hanno voluto vedere le cose da un diverso punto di vista e effettivamente mettersi nei panni, mettersi nella storia che lui raccontava per ampliare il proprio punto di vista. C'è qualche ultima domanda o lo lasciamo libero? Qualcun altro ha una curiosità? C'è ancora una curiosità? There is a last question.
Sono solo curiosa perché non ci sono veri attori e ha scelto di coinvolgere persone.
I think you partially already answered, but she wanted to know better why did you choose not to have real actors?
I'm very much interested in creating, a very special connection between my target audience and the people that they see on the screen. Because I make movies not for the sake of anything other than really highlighting a problem and trying to provoke some thought around it. And I'm a big believer that when you see someone that resembles you with their imperfection, they don't speak, you don't understand Arabic and Hebrew, but the people in the film, they don't speak perfectly. They overlap, they stutter, they don't finish sentences. They're very real, they're imperfect. And I think the audience connects more with imperfect people and relates to them and see themselves in them, uh, and that's one thing, and I love actors, but actors, they're perfect, they're pretty, they have a very unique, nice, articulate way of talking. This is something that would not work for films like I do that are social and political. And I also don't know how to write dialogue for so many characters. I'm very, very limited in my ability. I don't trust that I can write a dialogue for a woman. And I think it's much stronger when a woman brings herself and talk the way she wants to, and a doctor brings himself and talks with his or her terminology, and so on. So these two reasons.
Thank you. Sì, la risposta è che preferisce usare persone comuni perché creano una maggiore connessione con il pubblico che è composto da persone comuni, non da attori belli, perfetti. E quindi vedere delle persone che parlano magari a volte interrompendosi, sovrapponendosi nel parlare, non parlando perfettamente, anche se noi non capiamo l'arabo, però capiamo quel tipo magari di imperfezione che ci può essere in una conversazione fra tante persone e quindi si crea un maggiore rispecchiamento, insomma, mentre gli attori sono così perfetti, così belli, che sono un po' più fasulli, diciamo, c'è meno, ci può essere meno empatia, meno riflessi, ci si riflette meno in loro, ci si specchia meno in loro. E poi l'altra ragione è anche che lui non si sente all'altezza di scrivere un dialogo, di scrivere le parole di un dialogo dette da una donna o quelle dette da un dottore, preferisce che sia una donna o un dottore che sviluppa il suo testo, che dice le sue parole autentiche. Ovviamente è in qualche modo indirizzato a dire certe cose, però lo fa con la sua autenticità. Ok, grazie a voi.
Grazie, grazie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scandar. Thank you. Really, we're really happy to have you here, have had you here for this Q&A, and I would love to have you here in person, maybe sometime.
Maybe
So
sometime.
I invite you to come here to the Beltrade in Milan. It's very near to the central station. If you come, who knows, by train. Not so close to the airport, but we wait for you if possible.
Okay. Thank you so, so much, and have a good night.
Thank you very much, and be strong and make new movies. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.
E grazie a tutti voi per essere rimasti. Dimenticavo, abbiamo una bella mostra di tavole, due sono proprio lì sopra le scale, ma la maggior parte sono in atrio, sulle scalette, verso le scalette in atrio, e sono in vendita, offerta libera e il ricavato va a associazioni che stanno operando in Gaza, soprattutto per dare acqua e cibo. E poi se volete vi spiego di cosa si tratta, ma ci sono anche dei cartelli che spiegano la mostra nell'atrio se volete andare a vedere. Grazie a tutti.